The night settles on Anatolia the way soft ash settles after a hearth fire, weightless but warm, speckled with glow. Draw your blanket to collarbone height, let shoulders release, and inhale a hush older than history itself, older than the big trees rooted outside Hattusa's ruined gates, older even than the script that will one day press these memories into clay. Tonight we drift backward through that hush to a time before kings, when village fires were the only constellations that humans could touch. Ingathering of stone and silence picture rolling limestone ridges, modeled by juniper and pale scrub. Crescent moon hangs low, silvering each ridge until the land resembles a sleeping lion's back. You stand on a gentle bluff, barefoot, feeling warmth still seeping from rock, baked under vanished sun. Wind creeps between toes, cool but polite, as though asking permission before carrying seeds to their destinations. That same wind once carried rumors named Hatti, a word half hum, half heartbeat, spoken by shepherds as they guided sheep along basalt paths. Hatti meant land, meant home, meant the unbroken promise between sunrise fields and star-strewn ceilings. It was less a kingdom than a comforting murmur. Somewhere nearby a lone kill breathes, its vent glowing peach behind stacked copper ore. Embers crack, reminding ribs to spread inhale 4, hold 2, exhale 6. Sparks drift upward, joining the Milky Way, until they cool into invisible dust that will fertilize next spring's barley. Each spark is a syllable in the Empire's prelude, tiny, necessary, warming the script the gods will later dictate. Hearths before history, long before the word Hittite inked treaty tablets. Clusters of mud brick homes dotted these hills. Inside one such house, a potter smooths wet clay, thumb circling rim, chant whispering to Cusker the moon. His daughter sleeps in corner, rubbed in goat wool, dreaming of deer stepping through almond groves. The potter's chant is neither hymn nor spell, it is daily gratitude. An offering that the vessel may survive firing, that the family may survive winter. Outside, dogs bark once, twice, then curl around their own warmth. The village sighs.in. Your own room, perhaps miles from Anatolia notice, similar sigh gather near diaphragm. Exhale slowly, feel shoulder blades drift deeper into mattress. First footfall of Empire dawn slides pink across valley. A stranger arrives on donkey back, cloak stitched from 2 kinds of wool, local beige and unfamiliar crimson. He carries obsidian blades, salt cakes, and gossip of an ambitious warlord named Labarna, rumored to be forging alliances beyond the Hallies River. The potter's wife pours goat milk into wooden cup, steam swirling like oracle smoke. In that swirl, the stranger sees possibility. Limestone Hills could yield fortresses. Shepherd paths could become roads. Scattered hearths could ignite into capital. His gaze lingers on ridge, shaped like jagged crown someday will cradle Hattusas. Walls.time here behaves as gently as wool wash water. It seeps forward, pooling around details. Weeks condense to minutes, the stranger returns with masons. They quarry stone, carve blocks thick as bison shoulders. Thunder rolls without storm, only hammers striking cliff. Echoes nest deep in valley. Cavities, lullabying wizards and sparrows. The storm god introduces himself. One night clouds muscle across moon. Bearing lightning like branching cuneiform, a bolt cleaves cedar on ridge. Sap hisses, transforms to incense. Villagers gather, faces, copper in firelight. From smoke emerges mythic silhouette, Taru, storm god, holding double axe and wheeled thunder. He says nothing, yet everyone understands. Build walls, build altars, build memory. The following dawn, children chase stray goats along outline of what will become city gates shaped like lion jaws. Mothers laugh, unaware their footprints press first verse of an epic. Sleep Valley interlude pause here. Let eyelids drift half closed. Listen for distant hammers softened by juniper leaves. If you hear only modern refrigerator hum, convert it. In imagination, hum becomes turbine of Bronze Age kill. Click of house settling becomes mason setting stone. Your parasympathetic system interprets these ancient frequencies. Easing pulse 5 beats slower. Water, grain, copper, clay. To grow a city, you need more than stone. So springs are tapped with reed pipes, guiding water downhill into rock-cut cisterns. Wheat terraces carve green ribbons across slopes. Copper from distant mines reaches smelters via donkey caravan. Clay tablets take shape, soft as bread dough, awaiting reed stylus. Each resource whispers to next. Water feeds grain, grain feeds smith, smith forges plow, plow carves soil, soil births surplus, surplus births scribes. Scribes birth history. This whisper chain continues beneath your breathing. Notice belly. Rise on water, fall on clay. Twilight over Proto-Hattusili airs pass like pages turned by cautious librarian. Stone houses multiply. A low wall ring settlement, less defense, more embrace. At sundown, the potter's daughter, now grown white's oil dish atop wall niche, flame trembling in newborn breeze. She hums same chant her father once murmured, but she adds new refrain praising Taru and sun goddess Erna, who blushes horizon gold. Below, children trace chalk lions on limestone. They do not know their doodles will inspire lion gate reliefs carved generations later by artisans whose names crumble yet whose paw prints persist. Hush before ambition, the warlord Labarna, older now, visits hilltop at dusk. He surveys valley, quilted with barley, smoke, laughter. He tastes future in evening air iron tang of conquest, mixed with cinnamon warmth of hearth. His advisors speak of treaties and chariot counts, but Labarna listens to softer sound, song of roof tiles cooling, of sheep bells counting constellations. He decides empire must not just conquer, it must cradle. His first decree will be simple. Build me a city sturdy enough for thunder, yet gentle enough for lullabies. He gazes at ridge shaped like crown, memes at Hattusa, place of hush and thrum. Delivers that promise to your room, draped stir. Heartbeat aligns, melatonin drips steady. The story pauses, but foundation is laid. Limestone Hills know they will soon wear cyclopean walls. Potters know their kilns will bake treaty tablets. Shepherds know paths will thicken into roads, echoing chariot spokes. And you, half adrift listener, feel weight of blanket mimic early. Fortifications protective, solid, but not oppressive. Inhale one last time for chapter, hold, exhale. Stone hush returns dot sleep if you wish. Or hover in twilight where empire's first ember glows, waiting. Next night we will strike that ember with storm god's hammer and watch sparks dance over Anatolia. For now, let Limestone Hills cradle their newborn dreams beneath star-stitched quilt. Your own dreams may wander goat paths or trace lion. Doodles on moonlit rock, all safe. The empire will rise when dawn breaks, but dawn resides hours away beyond eyelash horizon. The night is heavy with iron-scented clouds, each one dark as the basalt that will someday pave royal courts. Somewhere far upslope lightning sketches bright runes across sky and erases them in the same breath divine shorthand. Inhale 4. 4, hold 2, exhale for 6. Let shoulders drop as though hammered flat upon an anvil still warm from creation. Cinderfleck. Dawn over Kusara before he was Hattusili, before thunder crowned him storm, lord of the north, he was Labarnash, prince of the rugged city of Kusara, where mud brick walls leaned in tired camaraderie against Aleppo pine trunks used as buttresses. Imagine dawn sliding ember orange across that small hill settlement, smoke from breakfast fires spiraling like charmed serpents toward clouds. Village dogs howl once, sensing electric change. Labarnash studies horizon, a bruised ink stain where limestone highlands vanish into brewing storm. Somewhere beyond that bruise, lies Hattusa's unfinished promise. He unties hair, lets strands whip like black banners. Pulse steady yet coiled, he lifts water skin, drinks first swallow of goat milk kefir tangy, alive with yeast. That yeast is microcosm of empire, restless, expanding, seeking sugar of new soil. You taste faint kefir memory at back of tongue, encouraging salivary glands to relax, swallow. Feel esophagus warmth. Voice of Taru and thunderclouds crash. Thunder rolls not once, but in triplet. Da da da. Village elders grip amulets. Children scurry beneath reed awnings. Labernash stands, unmoved, reading rhythm as oracle. The triplet matches ancient drum used in spring festivals for storm god Taru. Taru speaks in sky percussion, and tonight he says, forge, shape, ascend. Labarnash ties hair again, tight as bowstring. He orders stable boy to ready dual yoked. Donkey cart modest, but wheels greased with olive oil for silent travel. And back of cart, 2 bronze axes gleam under hide. One shape for tree, one for skull. Duality sits comfortable in princely heart. Road of black rain and white ash cart creaks downhill. Rain begins, droplets fat, warm, spattering dust into terracotta mud. Eternal smell of petrichor clay, breathing relief rises. Lightning strikes. Cedar groves framing narrow pass. Needles ignite, flare ghost green, burn to white ash that swirls into storm columns. Inhale, scent of cedar smoke mingled with ozone. Exhale, feel sinuses cool. Along roadside, obsidian chips pepper mud like stars fallen into soup. Labernash pockets 3 shards, one for mother, one for unborn empire, one for gods yet to name themselves. Under wheels, obsidian scrapes spark. Sparks die and puddle his amble and quench in quick succession, foreshadowing blacksmith mantra. Ridge, first Hammerfall journey, ends at ridge, shaped like jagged crown sight surveyed in last chapter. Rain eases, leaving steam ghosts hugging limestone. Labernash dismounts, plants bronze axe blade down into soil. He kneels, presses palm flat. Earth vibrates faintly as if heart beating under rock, each beat echoing Taru's drum. He whispers, "Oath, may your thunder temper my iron." Oath ripples into subsoil, wakes sleeping feldspar and hematite veins. Masons and timbermen arrive at twilight, torches snapping residue of storm into star sparks. They call him Hattusili now, one of Hattusa. Name fits like new grieve, stiff but destined to mold with heat of pursuit. They erect tent of bullhide, storm god motif stitched along flap in red ochre. Inside, small clay brazier glows. Coals crack, reminding you to exhale deeper. Carbon inside coals mirrors carbon exhaled from lungs' ancient exchange. Molten strategy to Sicily. Pours water on flattened hide. Traces map with burnt cedar stick. Halley's river loop. Arzawa forests. Casca highlands. Each charcoal line bleeds into hide, making veins like granite. Strategy not scribbled in haste. He taps each region thrice, as Smith might tap billet, gauging readiness. Advisors murmur. Thunder returns faint, approving dot outside, lightning splits. Hilltop cedar. Sparks ricochet onto stockpile of kill bricks. Some bricks crack, others fuse, testing resilience. You might feel muscle fibers twitch, brief test. They relax quicker. Forge circle, creating the first iron dagger dawn again. Hattusili orders pit dug, lined with granite, filled with charcoal. Slaves feed ore, nodules, bog, iron flecked with mica. Bellows compress, furnace roars like confined storm. Bloom mass born, crippled with slag. Smith's hammer, glowing lump on. Basalt flat thud, pause thud, slag spits. Sparks circle, land harmless on damp hide shoes. Hattusili watches. Sweat mixes with rain residue, forming pale rivulets down spine. When bloom brightens orange, he signals water quench. Steam plume ascends, merging with morning fog steam shaped like long-necked bird gliding skyward. You trace plume inside, eyelid letting thought follow upward until mind spacious. Plume split, drawn, welded again. Repeats until billet uniform. Final shape, dagger, leaf blade, 90 breaths in length. Edge not yet steel iron, still soft, but novelty alone sings. Promise. Hattusili carves Tyra's symbol near hilt, baptizes dagger in goat's blood, sealing covenant, thunder above, iron below dot, eclipsing coronation months pass in montage. Walls rise, lion gate rough carved, pottery shards multiply like notes in marketplace. Dim. Scholars later date coronation to year of midsummer solar eclipse. Midday sky dims, birds hush. Workers freeze hammer mid-arc, believing sun devoured. Hattusili stands on wooden scaffold above gate lintel. He lifts iron dagger. Its edge catches corona bloom, refracting rings of fire onto the salt cheeks of lion sculpture. When sun returns, crowd exhales. Loyalty sealed by relief dot you may feel. Slight jaw unclench, echo of crowd exhale. Muscles store less vigilant stop thunder. March to Purushanda new king, tests iron blade on distant city Purushanda. He leads chariot cores over muddy uplands, wheels clang. Spokes flick water arcs. Thunderclouds escort, drumming flank cadence. Enemy walls crumble after 5 days, not from blade per se, but from psychological weight of thunder-backed iron. Hattusili distributes captured grain to his soldiers, orders bronze axes buried at city gate, then replaced with iron uprights. Symbolic pivot from past out rain that night smells of wet hay and relief. Your blankets mimic that smell faintly in memory. Inhale, recall barn after summer shower. Exhale into deeper sedation. Ash archive. Tablet of vow back in Hattusa. Scribes press stylus into wet clay, recording vow. By storm god's Anvil. I, Hattusili, will forge unity so thunder finds single echo. Tablet baked in kill, stacked. With others. Century hence, fire destroys archive, yet tablets survive as red ceramic. Vow endures through ash. Fire transforms, never erases. Your subconscious catalogs vow as dream motif, unity hammered from discord, promise surviving heat. Hippocampus tags memory with index resolve. Sleep spindles capstone connection, night parley with tarot own night. Hattusili climbs citadel alone, sits among cedar stumps splintered by past lightning. Storm brews again. He raises iron dagger skyward. Thunder claps, dagger vibrates. Static halo forms a long blade, humming like insect choir. He speaks inside brain, not aloud. I have forged what you asked, temper me now. Lightning forks, strikes stone yard 10 cubits away, baking sand into glass teardrops. He waits, heartbeat steady. Rain passes, stars peak. Dagger edge remains. Intact iron accepted temper. Hattusili smiles first in months. You might feel lips curve faintly, even half asleep. Empire embryo sleeps at valley floor. Kilns glow, then dim. Walls stand, mortared cracks releasing night warmth. Inside homes, children dream of lions wagging tails. Mothers exhale tension of siege rumors. Iron dagger now sheathed, storm god content. Distant thunder diminishes to rumble like cart across. Bridge boards, sleepers forge cooling return to your room. Here far refrigerator compressor mimic furnace winding down. Muscles imitate white hot bloom cooling into pliant bar worm but safe to touch. Visualize internal hammer crafting restful. Architecture, worry slag hammered out, leaving alloy of confidence. Breath cycles slower 4 in, 7 out, heart rate dips. Brainwaves slip delta. Fog curls over Anatolian hills. Same fog curling under bedroom door. It carries mineral notes of cooling basalt, cedar, iron, each note a lull. Soon dawn well. Etch first golden cuneiform line across horizon. Until then, Empire embryo sleeps, and so may you. Storm God's anvil has rung. Now it cools. Rest upon its warm shadow. The night lies heavy over the ravines of Bogoski, yet a low amber glow smolders where torches ring the unfinished crown of Hattusa. Every flame quivers as if aware it is painting the negative of a future empire against the void. Breathe in 4 counts: 1, 2, 3, 4, let torch. Heat warm lungs. Hold 2, exhale 6. Feel shoulders fall like quarried stone onto oxhide sleds. Tonight we stand watch beside the lion gate, sentinel of Cyclopean dreams. Its paws still raw basalt, its mane a rumor in stonemason sketches. The walls are growing, stone by patient stone, and their heartbeat drums slower than sleep but stronger than time. Boulders. Awake at dawn picture dawn's first gray threading narrow. Valley. In quarry half-league away, masons circle boulder the size of vineyard press. They sing call and response low, measured to coax sleeping basalt awake. Their song is not plea but pact. If stone agrees to move, masons vow to lift with. Cedar rollers padded in lamb fat to spare granite bruises. Thunder from last chapter rumbles distant approval. 2 teams wedge copper chisels along natural seam. Hammers ring in rhythm. Thunk, thunk, pause. Thunk, thunk, pause. On third stanza seam sighs, crack zigzags. Boulder looses with exhale of trapped millennia. You sense that sigh across centuries diaphragm loosens. Jaw unclenches. .16 oxen strain. Sled skids gravel, sparks zip beneath greased planks. Overseer sprinkles barley where hooves land thank offering. Stone glides toward rising fortress. Behind sled dust plume rises, briefly silhouette sun, producing aureole around basalt mass as though lion already crowned. Cyclopean weave Hattusa's walls do not rise in tidy rows, but in Cyclopean braid, blocks interlocked like knuckles of giant hands. No mortar, only friction kisses and gravity vows. Each stone shaped by instinct more than measure. Masons eyeball subtle curves, shave bevels with stone mauls, test fit by feeling for whisper of wind through seam. When seam holds breathless, block accepted. In room you may tilt head, notice absence of draft. Same test. New block arrives. Foreman grunts, crew lever stones beneath. Pry sled nose upward. Ropes of plaited goat hair stretch, creak but do not snap horse sweat and beeswax stiffen fibers. Block tips, lands on wall top with bass thud. Pulse in your ear mirrors thud, settles. Through night, torch teams repeat. By moonset, a new tier encircles Acropolis like bronze ring on potter's wheel. From distance, walls appear organic, as if grown, not built calcareous reef, fossilized, mid-gesture dot basalt cups, limestone dam focus on lion gate niche. 2 half-card cats crouch, limestone torsos still coarse, but basalt paws already polished, pads groove to mimic calloused flesh. Apprentice files 1 claw until it gleams star white. He whispers prayer, may prowlers outside freeze at this shine. Master nods. Symbolism matters pause, anchor city's courage. Main will crown intellect. Open maw will swallow ill will. Limestone damp from night mist. Water beads on rough main stubble, dribbles onto paws. Sizzling illusion of beast breathing. Apprentice. Tiptoes back so as not to wake guardian prematurely. You may feel warmth at feet, like huge stone feline shielding toes. Moon. Watch, roster Hattusili decrees 3-watch system. Wolf watch, lion watch, dove watch. Wolf spans dusk to first quarter. Moonrise. Lion from zenith to moonset. Dove from false dawn to sunrise. We arrive mid-lion, when silence thickest. Guards pace parapet, hobnails muted by felt sandals. They carry torches sheathed in horn lanterns to reduce sputter. 1 guard hums lullaby. His mother sang in Kasara, 8-note descent matching breathing cadence recommended by temple healers. Hum washes across stones, sub-audible to sleeping children inside city dot. Our vantage offers panorama over valley. Torchlight paints orchard leaves copper, orchard shadows cobalt. Occasionally reed flute drift from worker camp. Note arcs, falls. Curls into motive hush. Heartbeat parallels note, drifts dot secrets in basalt pause. Within each line palm mason's hollow narrow cavity before final polish. Into cavity they place tablet of river mud mixed with ground obsidian. On tablet scribe presses. Secret line. Fear may knock, but shall find no handle. Tablet sealed, cavity corked with molten lead, disguised beneath claw. Legends assert lions whisper inscription to earth whenever earthquake approaches. Earth relays to troop commander through subsonic grumble. Belief enough to calm tremor anxiety. Your body, likewise, stores mantra beneath ribs. Fear may knock, heart gives no handle. Luncheon for the moon. During lion watch midpoint, priestess ascends scaffold. Offers bowl of honey-soaked einkorn to moon. She tilts bowl. Honey drips. Onto lion's right paw. Sugars hiss on warm basalt, releasing caramel incense that calms bees in nighttime hives. In your space, faint note of burnt sugar triggers salivary comfort, parasympathetic nudge. First arrow fired, construction not yet finished when first threat approaches. Raiders from Zalpa test new walls. Sentinels spot torches dancing among. Pines, trumpet carved from aurochs horn, bleats thrice. Workers scramble behind unfinished kennels, knock arrows tipped with obsidian shards. Captain chooses single archer young, calm, recent father. He draws, looses. Arrow arcs silver, lands before raiders, embedding shaft upright in mud-like exclamation. Raiders pause, read omen, retreat into tree hush. No blood, only message. Walls remain maiden pure. Inside city, mothers exhale. Doves reposition eggs. You exhale. Muscle groups from neck to thigh relax. Taru's silent inspection storm. God returns not with thunder, but with charged silence. Clouds float overhead, textured like hammered tin. Sheet lightning pulses inside, but sound withheld. Builders pause, gaze skyward. Lightning silhouettes lie in outline, revealing what Maine will look like. They feel approved. You sense static tickle across skin, brief, then dissipate, carving the main daylight again. Masons hoist limestone blocks to lie in crown position. Artists carve overlapping scales shaped like barley kernels, referencing harvest blessing. Chisels tap tikeki cheek shaving curls that fall like snow onto scaffold planks. Carvers blow dust, reveal gradient from coarse grit to satin sheen. They embed small knobs of blue lapis and eyes gift from Syrian traders. Blue stares eternally east, reminding merchants valley route safe. Nightfall lion gate, vigil proper. At last lion pair stands complete. Meanies proud, paws grounded, basalt fused with limestone via heavy dovetail cramps. High priest lights twin, braziers between beasts, oil of juniper and frankincense. Smoke climbs, frames jaws, giving illusion of breath. Choir of priestesses hum tritone chord, aligning with Schumann resonance. Speculation aside, chord reduces beta activity in nearby test goats. Same chord hum now in your chest, brain edges rounding. Guards kneel, tap bronze spear, butts thrice on granite threshold. Oath spoken, may no malice pass under lion shadow. Oath seeps into poor spaces. When final torch extinguished, only braziers paint ripple onto stone, like hearth and family room inside your memory dream. Patrol through gate, in guided dream you walk between lions. Their eyes glow lapis, they inhale, exhale slow. You feel smaller but secure. Ahead, corridor of unlit houses, windows shuttered, each shutter painted protective symbol. A stag, a sun, a double-headed eagle. You pause before door bearing stylized. Hello, door opens, inside room candle already lit. that invites Eli, blanket lion patterned, weighty, comforting. Outside door closes, latch clicks. Gate lions resume vigil. Sleeper's stonework, back in present bed. Muscles mimic stone setting, skeletal blocks interlock on mattress. Vertebrae align, no mortar needed. Your breathing becomes hush of scalpel removing stone flakes light, repetitive, soothing. Heart operates winch, pulling worries outward, lowering them into quarry pit below consciousness. Star pattern beyond window matches, layout of wall towers. Orion stands where Sphinx Tower will rise. Pleiades sit above East Bastion, aligning sight lines. Mind locks pattern. Hippocampus stamps orientation secured. Allows Ream Gate open. Dove watch and dawn final watch. Dove begins. Sky lightens grapefruit rind. Inside Hattusa, clay stoves reignite. Smell of sesame bread drifts. Lions lose torch flicker, gain sunrise halo. The salt paws catch first gold beam, look as if flexing. Walls exhale warmth stored overnight. Workers yawn, stretch, resume. Empire heartbeat continues. In your room, subtle change. Birds outside commence. Pre-dawn twitter, yet you remain beneath lion shadow, safe, unmoved. Breath deepens one more octave, hits lowest note before morning rouses. Sleep now, while lion eyes still lapis, while walls still smell of fresh chisel. Gates will hold secrets. Remain sealed in pause until next thunder call. The morning haze over the Orontes River settles like drawn silk, veiling two armies that wait just beyond one another's heartbeat. A warm current rises from the water, tasting faintly of silt and mint from crushed river reed. Breathe in 4. 4, hold 2, release for 6. Feel the hush that precedes history's thunder. On the northern bank, Great King Motali II of Hatti adjusts a leather bracer etched with twin thunderbolts, emblem of Tarkana, storm god. Across shallows, inside the dust-bright horizon, Ramesses II, furrow of Kemet, ties ribbon of red linen around wrist, a charm against confusion. Between these mirrors of ambition lies Kadesh, a fortified mound whose big brick heart will echo wheels and vows for centuries. Cartographers of dust imagine, flat plain lapping against river bend-weight stubble, tamarisk, and patches of cracked alluvium. On this canvas, cartographers from both camps etch provisional maps with reed stylus and damp sand, fully aware the wind will erase their work by dusk. A scribe in Motali's entourage sketches stylized turtle to mark Kadesh Citadel. Turtle. Shell implies fortress, gears, patience. Ramesses' scribe renders same knoll as beetle, sign of rebirth. Two images, same mound conflict begins with perspective. Tamarisk limbs sway, hushing flies. A gentle rhythm emerges, breeze through papyrus tints. Distant hammer shaping arrowhead soft, continuous, measured. Heartbeat aligns with rhythm. Shoulders uncoil. Harness of 11 straps at the Hittite Chariot Park. Artisans tighten 11-strap leather harness onto chestnut stallions. Amber eyes flaring, then settling. Spokes of ashwood are rubbed with tallow, so wheel turns inaudible until gallop. Bronze side blades are removed. Muatali prefers mobility over spectacle. In Egyptian camp, spokes are crimson lacquered, ram's head hub nailed with turquoise. Studs. Chariot builders hum tune to pace hand motions. Hum bleeds into background, low grounding dot. Muwatli walks row of yokes, presses forward to horse forelock, murmurs phrase in Hittite antizas, hush, iron era, micro invocation for composure. Across river Ramesses performs similar rite with white stallion Nefertu. He speaks Egyptian vow, but breath cadence identical. Sympathy across hostility. Both leaders communicate calm before ignition. Orontes River's slow pulse water here flows, east to west, looping around Kadesh Mound like lazy sling. Early morning sun gilds ripples. Both forces dispatch scouts by punt to gauge depth. Poles dip, meet mud, lift. Droplets glisten, arc, fall. The scene repeats, dip, lift, arc in metronomic sequence. Observe inside mind. Let breath dip, lift. ARC, a cormorant dives, emerges fishless. Shakes water from feathers, resumes sentinel post atop ruined grain silo. That shake spritzes micro droplets caught by breeze. Some travel as far as chariot axle, cooling bronze hub. Tiny mercies. The Epirus flag and stolen intel Hittite scouts disguised as Epirus traders slip through orchard near Pharaoh's row division. Sell pomegranates, overhear troop counts. At twilight, they cross river again, deliver counts to Mortali. He rolls clay impression of enemy order of march, presses seal ring, winged sun and double lion. He gives clay to courier, instructs him to ride to second chariot cohort hidden. Behind Low Hills, courier departs, wheels goes quiet. Strategy, like breeze, changes tempo yet remains quiet. Ramesses advance, the two Shasifareo believes Hittites retreat, pushes Amon division ahead. At ford he meets two Shaisu herdsmen, Hittite agents. They profess ignorance of enemy, swear cattle path safe. Ramesses gifts them bronze mirror. Continues. When double column lengthens, dust tails mimic storm snakes coiling upward. This dust plume catches slanting noon sun, producing burnt orange veil across valley signal to Hittite ambush units. First clatter, last hesitation, Hittite chariots surge from concealment. Wheels cut dry grass, horses snort steam. Archers notch, arrows tipped with obsidian. Yet in that very beat, before first shaft whistles, world seems to hold breath. Birds freeze mid-wing beat, river hushes, even sighs of sunlight pause. That pause extends inside listener's chest. Heartbeat floats, untethered but unafraid. Then sound cascades, axle whine, arrow hiss, shouted commands in two languages. Dust wall rises, sun dims, plain transforms to copper-lit dreamscape. But our narration slows frame inside vortex, arrow. Arcs visible as comet. Wheel spoke becomes throbbing circle. Shout becomes ocean murmur. Attention narrows to droplet on horse flank, slide of sweat over muscle. Remarkably peaceful vantage amid chaos. Hail to the shield of Kus Ramesses rallies. Almond division into defensive ring. His scribe record speech, I stand alone, yet Amun stands with me. We observe vantage above, hearing only heartbeat bass of mass bodies. Hittite chariots encircle, release volley, withdraw, wheel returns. Dust thickens, muffling edges. From ridge Muatali signals second line but not third. He conserves, aware dusk will soon tip in his favor. A sudden gust opens dusk curtain. For heartbeat, both leaders lock gaze across river curve. Neither smiles. Each senses immortality forging. Treaty not triumph. Sun disk covers. Shadows lengthen afternoon slouches. Sun disk reddens to garnet. Hittite forces tire. Horse lather foams. Egyptian near-in reinforcements, dot distant, appear from south. Banners snapping linen spells. Their arrival like cool wind after kill heat. Hittite charioteers. Pivot, retreat beyond bowshot. Horn sound, roll back. Muatali weighs pursuit, declines. Valley exhales dust plume. Dust settles onto Orontes like cinnamon on milk. Negotiation camp. Cobalt twilight after sunset. Tense pepper, riverbank, Egyptian gold. Hittite crimson. In neutral zone scribes meet. Wax tablets trade hands, read styluses scratch. Language toggles between Akkadian diplomatic and pared down. Summerogram shorthand. First draft of accord includes clause. Neither sovereign shall cross border with hostile intent. Candles gutter restart. Scribes yawn behind hands, continue. Moon climbs, silvering papyrus edges, within Hittite command. Tent, Muatali soaks cloth in lavender water, drapes over horse neck. He strokes mane, whispers Tarkana benediction for restful wind. Pharaoh across river pen scribes final flourish the phrase future museums will laud to keep the peace forever. Oronta's mist and bronze eco mist forms low, curling around. Chariot wheels left idle. Bronze rims ping faint as metal cools. Leather straps slacken, releasing hidden scent of myrrh used in tanning. River current laps hull of stranded Kopesh blade, producing rhythmic clink akin to low. That clink enters ear, coaxing breath deeper. Inscription in 2 tongues months later. Treaty carved into silver tablet, Hittite on one side, Egyptian on reverse. A diplomatic palindrome bridging cultures. Tablet sealed, couriered to Hattusa. Archives where scribes duplicate onto clay for redundancy. Silver original entombed within lion paw cavity beside earlier tablet. Basalt whispers acceptance. Walls seem taller though, unchanged. Reflections over cooling hearth back in Kushara. Elder tells children's story of Kadesh, not as victory, but as wisdom lesson. Chariot wheels spin fast, treaties last longer. He stirs embers, adds juniper twig. Smoke spirals, carrying cedar and cedar apology essence into rafters. You, resting listener, absorb same cedar note drifting through time. Muscles lighten, brow unlatches. Though battle raged, narrative delivered vantage of measured cadence. Mind records, images, dust wall, silent days across river. Silver treaty, each filed without urgency. Aranti's nightbirds resume song. Measured, not shrill. Heart aligns, breath slows a notch. Chariot wheels no longer spin. They rest upon packed earth. Hubs cooling beneath star sprawl older than both kings. Treaty words glow faintly in moonlight, as though embers under Ashdod let story fade. Into silent treaty, let wheels cease inside chest. Dawn remains distant enough for calm to linger long. A translucent dawn mist lifts off the limestone ridges around Katuka, carrying the fragrance of sage and damp apricot leaves. Within the palace courtyard, torchbearers extinguish the last of the night's flames with perfumed water, and the slate flagstones release a muted hiss and exhalation as ancient as the city's walls. Inhale slowly 4 counts, as if tasting that steam. Hold, then let the breath leave unhurried, 6 counts, allowing shoulders to rest in their sockets. The hush is punctured only by the rhythmic tap of reed sandals on polished cedar boards. Parueba, daughter of Kitsuetna's sacred hearth and consort to Hattusili I, approaches the scribal wing wrapped in a mantle the color of ripening pomegranate. Moonstone rings flash when her hand adjusts the hem so it will not brush against. Newly inked clay tablets waiting on trays. Hers is not the stride of a sovereign accustomed to conquest. It is the measured gait of a jurist who knows how many syllables a promise can survive. Ink. Before iron at the age of 19, she walked barefoot into the shrine of Ishtar of Lozantia bearing a bowl of date wine, half expecting only the usual crackling of incense for response. Instead, the air thickened and the bronze figurine of the goddess vibrated like a plucked harp string. An oracle spoke through the priestess's lips. Your quill will bite deeper than a spear point. Years later, that sentence still hovers. Behind every glance, she trades with the court archivist Dot inside the scribal wing. Dozens of wooden tables form a quiet forest. One where instead of leaves, linen scraps inscribed with cuneiform flutter atop wax-coated surfaces. Parueba's arrival is acknowledged by the soft scrape of reed styluses being set respectfully aside. Each scribe dips head, not from fear, but from recognition that she is the fulcrum balancing fear and favor across 3 civilizations. The parchment, web contrary to the commoner's belief, not all treaties are carved in stone or pressed into clay. Some are written on parchment crafted from the hides of Anatolian goats steeped in wine, scraped until translucent, then stretched across cedar. Frames. Under Paduaipa's direction, narrow strips of pomegranate rind are boiled in copper kettles to craft a deep russet dye for headings, while carbon soot mixed with pine resin makes the midnight ink for body text dot. She unfurls the latest diplomatic missive from Egypt, its hieroglyphs lacquered in lapis. With a breath latticed by rose oil, she translates aloud, replacing Nile metaphors with clear Hittite legal cadence. Every sentence she utters becomes silk thread added to her unseen web, stretching from Katuka to Peiromis and onward toward Ugarit's harbor and Alashia's copper fields. Messengers will traverse those strands, and merchants will feel. Vibration centuries hence. Oracle rehearsal yet text is only half her craft. Portent completes it. In the upper court, a marble basin, wide as a threshing floor, is filled with rainwater collected during the last new moon. Bronze needles, each etched with a god's epithet, float like compass points. Paduaipa kneels, sets fingertips on water, and murmurs to the sun god of justice. A faint breeze, perhaps divine, perhaps courtyard draft, nudges the needle engraved. Erina. It pivots southwest, confirming the clause she had considered. No ship bearing gold shall dock entire without mutual tariff ledger. The steward waiting behind her scratches adjustment on parchment. No lightning strikes the basin. Revelation arrives softly, like moss breaking stone. Elsewhere in the palace, drums announce the baking of barley bread scented with nigella. The aroma travels through corridors, meeting the crisp tang of parchment size. Together they form an olfactory accord, both grounding and aspirational. Ramas's seal and the question of ink longevity, silver. Tablet, the famous copy of the Egyptian Hittite treaty, rests under beeswax cloth within an ebony casket. Each. Sealing season, Paduaipa reviews the metal for corrosion. None appears. Instead, she focuses on ink longevity for day-to-day correspondence. Carbon inks fade. Iron gall sours parchment. She orders experiments, crushed oak galls mixed with wine vinegar, filtered through goat's wool, stabilized with fig sap. The resulting ink has a scent reminiscent of autumn orchard after rain. A scribe tests a line. Ink reveals the pulse of thought. Letters dry to matte finish, promising centuries of clarity. Audience of the cedar door hall moonlight pours through high slits, striping the cedar door hall with gold. Ambassadors from Ugarit present tablets requesting grain relief after locust blight. Paduaipa listens, eyes gliding over their cuneiform. She feels a pulse under her ribcage, not emotion, but arithmetic. Grain surplus in lower land equals 12,000. Gur, relief shipment would cost half, but purchase 2 decades of loyalty. She nods, authorizes. Seal of the double-winged sun is pressed. Crackle of wax echoes at corridor edge. A boy of 6 air, apparent, Anatolia watches. She beckons, squeezes his shoulder, lets him press secondary seal. Soft wax yields, future king imprints. First lesson. Authority is most durable when it smells faintly of pine resin. The library of clay heartbeats, down spiral stairs. Archivists slide clay shelves along cedar rails. Each shelf has rhythm. Push pause latch. When they open, a faint earthy aroma escapes, sun-baked river mud mixed with straw chaff. Paduaipa descends, carrying new tablet set. She runs palm over rows of spines, sensing their faint radiance. Some tablets record treaties. Others list lullabies, bread recipes, eclipses, fines for drunken cart drivers. Together they form the clay. Heartbeat sustaining identity. She selects space between 2 astronomical ledgers, inserts treaty addendum. Fingers linger. Warm clay greets cool parchment memory. She whispers, stand the centuries, and shelf latches closed. Clay does not answer. Its silence promises durability. Rose. Quartz dusk on the rampart evening tints the fortress walls. Rose quartz. From the parapet, she views vineyards ripening in gentle gradient from jade to blush. A distant thunderhead glows, recalling her husband's epithet, Storm King. She breathes cedar lace air and recites personal mantra, writing tames thunder. Below, torchlighters ignite resin bundles. Flame halos lie in sculptures. Their obsidian eyes flicker illusions of wink. Candled chamber final signature back in her chamber. Beeswax candles pool gold onto papyrus desk. She unfurls final scroll letter to Queen Nefertari across desert and sea. Quill tip, trimmed from stork feather, dips into gall ink. Words flow. Sister in the house of Hathor, may your shade be cool. Scribes will later note her handwriting. Contains steady diagonal stroke, distinguishing her from every male diplomat of our signature calm force. She finishes. Powders with pumice, folds, presses personal seal. Lotus flanked by lions. Wax cools. Courier bows, exits, midnight without trumpet. At moonrise, twin braziers outside Lion Gate exhale resin smoke. Inside, Padoeba shelves quills, caps ink, and draws bird-embroidered curtain over parchment desk. She moves to balcony where night insects cadence the hush. A comet tails faint path above Taurus constellation omen, later interpreted as secure rain of scribal peace dot down in the city. Potters spin wheels. One family chants lullaby to child. Bronzecaster pours still molten god figurine into sand. Mold. The hiss merges with cicada. None of these realize their names will appear on ration tablets, springing from Queen's administrative web. Yet their lives veer easier because of clauses she pinned under cedar roof. Clay cooling. Quill's resting ink dries, tablets cool. Parchment curls gently, each fiber relaxing. Stone lions guard silence. Breeze might flap awning, but no treaty line. Unthreads. Owl and citadel beam blinks. Its talons clutch cedar, a nod to Queen's midnight vigil. Some distance away, Orontes River flows under starlight, reflecting the moon like a silver signature across water. The treaty born at Kadesh still echoes there, the same treaty Padoeba now anchors with parchment amendments and silver seals. The river hurries, but the ink she lays travels slower, carving grooves into chronology rather than banks. Close this scroll with a calm exhale through the nose. Allow shoulders to ease their weight into the past. The Queen of Oaths continues, her writing not for conquest, but for clarity, ensuring every clause, every name, every grain shipment, every oracle decision holds until dawn and beyond. The first hammerfall of dawn lands on the copper roofs of Katuka's artisan quarter, ringing out a muted bell-like chord that rolls through alleyways still smelling of dew and charcoal. Inhale for 4 counts, as though drawing that metallic. Timbre into the lungs, pause. Release over 6, letting the shoulders settle, molting the night's remaining tension like slag skimmed from molten ore. Under the east parapet, kill fires awaken to a faint blue pulse. Potters, bronze casters, weavers, and temple butchers share this quarter each trade, braided into imperial routine like metals in a composite blade. Today begins with a hush, yes, but a hush laced with purpose. The soft shuffle of sandals over pumice-dusted floor. The whisk of goat hair brushes against wet clay. The whisper of flax threads sliding between fingers cured with olive oil. Bronze furnace choir picture a long, vaulted hall whose brick walls are blackened by decades of copper vapors. Hearths line either side like a double gallery of miniature suns. Each furnace is fed with charcoal carted from the northern pine slopes and fanned by great leather bellows handled by apprentices who count strokes in silent force. When air gushes into the furnace throat, embers contract and flare, producing a brief white glare that silvers every soot particle in the room before subsiding to a steady orange pulse dot At the center of the hall stands master founder Tarkunta Inu, face streaked umber with ochre paste to still pours against heat. He supervises the morning smelt, 450 shekels of Cyprus copper to 45 shekels of black, Cascan tin and alloy ratio older than any treaty. Ingots are passed hand to hand using tongs carved from ash wood charred for hardness. When copper first liquefies, it carries the color of dawn clouds. Tin is added in measured fragments the size of sparrow eggs. Each sizzle sounds like distant rain pattering on citadel tiles. Furnace acoustics form a layered harmony. Bellows sigh, charcoal crackles, molten bronze gurgles. The trio merges into a subdued anthem that helps the founders fall into rhythmic. Efficiency, pulse inside your chest may find similar cadence. Let it match without force. Molten bronze is ladled into wheeled molds for 12 ritual spearheads commissioned by the Temple of the Storm God. The molds are slate gray, incised, with spiral motifs symbolizing thunder turning into fertile rain. As the metal cools, the spirals capture light, then dim, leaving the alloy the shade of ripe wheat in moonlight. Blood on the threshold, the temple butcher's right, 2 streets away. Beyond an arch hung with juniper branches, the temple abattoir. Conduct's morning offering. Bronze knives, freshly honed on basalt whetstones, gleam under skylight shafts. Chief Butcher Marathi steps forward, whispering a lineage prayer older than the foundation tablets. A young ram, garlanded with blade leaf. Yarrow is guided to a shallow trench lined with salt. The animal's breath fogs briefly, then steadies, as if sensing inevitability. With a single movement, Marathi draws the blade across the artery. Blood arcs, crimson against chalk plaster, and drains into salt trench, hissing lightly as iron meets. Crystalline grains, the sound is not unpleasant. It's delicate, almost like parchment rustling. Priests capture a portion in a cedar bowl to mix later with barley flour for libation cakes. The remainder saturates the salt, forming clumps the color of mountain clay after rain. Salt blood bricks are carted to the orchard boundary, where they will fertilize apricot trees whose fruit supplies the palace kitchens. Thus, iron returns to earth. Earth returns sugar to court. Circle closes quietly, almost shy of its own elegance. Blessed threads. The weaver's dawn beyond the blacksmith smoke. The house of looms awakens under a roof woven from straw mats and fig beams. Warp weights of sun-baked clay dangle like orderly grapes, keeping tension on linen strands. Mistress Weaver Hannah Delissa rinses her fingers in a bowl of warm water infused with crushed marjoram, a minor luxury that keeps skin supple for endless shuttle throws. Her apprentices hum a pentatonic scale while passing shuttle through the shed. The song's tempo matches their inhalations. Exhalations ride the shuttle's return dot today. They weave ceremonial mantles for Hattusili I's spring procession, undyed. Linen overstitched with crimson bands and edged with lapis beads imported from far Bactria. Each bead is stitched after the apprentice exhales fully, the tiny hole between breaths ensuring the needle enters at the precise angle. Over the course of the morning, hundreds of such silent pauses accumulate, leaving the fabric imbued with invisible markers of discipline. At midday, Hannah Delissa inspects 8 cubits of finished cloth, running her palm across the surface to feel for hidden knots. The linen cools her skin, carrying whisper-trapped aroma of marjoram. She nods. Cloth is worthy. It will drape emperor's shoulders, brushing bronze boulders hammered hours earlier in Tarkunta Inu's furnace. Potter's wheel in the quiet spiral further downslope. Potter Sinitbu centers a lump of Levantin clay on the stone wheel. She waits her hands, steadying breath until inner tempo matches the wheel's slow spin 9 rotations per inhalation, 9 per release. Fingers coax walls upward. Centrifugal force thins clay, but her steady pressure prevents collapse. When Walls reach desired height. Her thumbs carve a subtle ridge, a marker for scribes who will later paint inventory numbers in black slip. Toddler watching from doorway claps softly at the moment the jar's lip flares. Sinipu smiles, lifts foot to slow wheel. The rotation halts in calm deceleration, leaving vessel symmetrical enough for measured green rations. She covers jar with damp linen so the clay surface stays humid. In that pause, the shop fills with soft silence, broken only by droplet of water hitting floor in half-minute intervals. Each droplet lands like punctuation in a text only birds overhead can read. The scriptorium's afternoon cadence, while artisans labor, scribes upstairs glide reed stylus over damp clay. They inventory spearheads, linens, salt blood bricks, jars, and animal hides. Tablet edges are beveled by rubbing against pumice, then dried on shelves warmed by blacksmith kilns below natural recycling of forge heat. Senior scribe Upply Arena checks tallies, marking deficits with a diagonal slash. One apprentice miswrites tally. Upply erases with wet thumb, redraws calmly. No reprimand, just a nod accuracy over haste dot by late afternoon shelves contain. 33 tablets, each breathing faint warmth into air smelling of clay and cedar. Putuepa visits, scanning rows, approving the ledger that binds bronze blood, and blessing into imperial pulse. Evening ablutions at dusk. Artisans wash hands in limestone basin where water is perfumed with crushed mint and rose hips discarded. By temple musicians. Copper flecks from the forge settle at basin bottom, tiny mirrors reflecting dim torchlight. Potters scrub clay from nails. Blacksmiths rub pumice over calluses. Weavers squeeze marjoram residue from cuticles. The water clouds, turns opal, then drains out through a cart spout shaped like river cart, joining runoff to irrigate herb gardens beyond wall. The blessing fire night returns. A small brazier stands in central courtyard. Priest of Quetzalcoatl's. Hearth lights cedar shavings, sprinkles powdered juniper and powdered copper. Flames shift emerald for a heartbeat, then steady to amber. Artisans gather, each dropping a token of their trade. Splinter of loom shuttle, droplet of brown dross, pinch of red dye, chip of fired clay. Sparks rise, drift skyward, curling. Like faint script across dark mist dot in the hush, the priest recites litany, grain becomes muscle, ore becomes edge, wool becomes warmth, blood becomes covenant. Each phrase acknowledges that craft, toil, and ceremony weave a fabric stronger than walls. Heads incline. A collective exhale releases invisible knots of Asai NEW. Kilns cooling, looms at rest kill vents close. Chimneys exhale final gust. Temperatures drop from forge white to hearth red. Loom weights cease their trembling. Shuttles rest in warp's embrace. Temple knives reap sheath in cedar racks. Bronze spearheads, now polished, lie in rows, reflecting torchlight like tiny moons caught in iron orbit. All sounds condensed too. Distant night insects and a low wind whisking across parapets. From the Citadel Terrace, Putuepa watches final ember fade. Somewhere inside fortress, scribes stack today's tablets, leaving narrow walkway for tomorrow's entries. Bronze, blood, and blessing have followed their circuit, ore to blade, animal life to covenant, craft to cloth, ledger to memory. A last torch guttering draws small moths who swirl clockwise, tracing invisible spirals similar to clay potters. Earlier, spiral expands, loosens, dissipates. Night deepens. The courtyard kill breathes a lambent glow into the indigo hour before dawn, turning potter boys and scribes into silhouettes pressed against a canvas of star-shot sky. From its chimney rises a ribbon of heat shimmering like wet ink under. Sunrise, though the sun has not yet arrived. Draw in a measured breath, 4 counts, letting the imaginary warmth of that kill settle beneath the breastbone. Hold 2. Release over 6, as quietly as ash settling on fresh thrown clay. Beyond the kill arch, an arched portico ushers the diligent into the tablet's house of Katuka, walls of stone support, cedar shelves stacked with thousands of terracotta leaves, each etched with reed strokes recounting prices of barley, verdicts of provincial courts, treaties spiced with threats, lullabies meant for royal infants, and omens drawn from the livers of spotless sheep. A single hallway hosts the heartbeat of an empire. Walk softly across its reed mat floors. Clay, without fire, the soft beginning at the northern end of the portico. Apprentice Aruna Shai kneels before a wooden basin filled with river mud, sifted through bronze screens fine as spider silk. She sprinkles pulverized straw for temper, then kneads the mixture until it glistens like rain-coated bark. Each handful lifted drips a quiet rhythm. Tap, tap, pause, tap, tap. Her breathing sinks to the pattern, and because of that alignment, every clay lump arriving at the bore carries the same water content consistency is the mother of transparency. Master Scribe Upali Arena approaches, wearing the faint aroma of cedar and fig sap ink. He tests the ball of clay with thumb pressure that leaves no dent. Clay springs back ideal. With a nod, he withdraws a reed stylus, trimmed so its nib shows a cut like a swallowtail. He draws the first wedge onto the still damp tablet. Vertical stroke committing the date of the storm god feast. As stylus withdraws, slit pools briefly in the channel, catching starlight filtering from clear-story windows. From decree to cradle song, many hands shape the future here. Some legal, some lyrical. On the upper mezzanine, court poet Tara Huntalel copies nursery verses onto palm-sized plaques, gifts for the twin daughters of Queen Padopa's niece. Each verse ends with a calendar star sign. The twins were born under the three-dog constellation, so stylus carves miniature paw prints following the words. The intention is practical. Nursemaids can trace paw outlines under lamplight while murmuring the melody, ensuring the syllable count remains steady. Downstairs, council. Clerk Marceli Kess drafts a decree fixing grain tariffs along the upper land road. The decree's cuneiform slopes lean southwest, reflecting urgency, yet each wedge is pressed with surgical calm. A line break is filled by a horizontal triple stroke standard sign indicating "and forever." The politics of endurance relies on such flourishes, sand grains of emphasis that wait a phrase for generations. Farther along, a modest tablet receives a disciplinary record. 2 ox drivers were caught diluting olive oil with rendered goat fat. The punishment, a fortnight in quarry labor, will live beside heroic annals without hierarchy. The clay remembers indiscriminately. Its heat-hardened memory outlasts pewter and parchment alike. The first firing, sealing memory to mineral when morning's pale gold edges the high windows, kilns warm from ember to active burn. 2 oxhide bellows pump gusts measured by the banging of a slow drum, each beat regulating airflow so that flames climb just enough to lick the dome vault. Tablet racks slid onto paddle boards. Enter the glowing mouth and orderly sequence legal tablets left, lullaby plaques right. Middle shelves hold agricultural ledgers whose ash content demands gentler gradient. Inside the kill, moisture flees pores with tiny hisses that resemble distant rain. At 600 degrees Celsius, ferric oxide turns tablets a muted salmon. At 850 degrees Celsius, calcium traces whiten the outer skin like frost. At peak heat, faint scurls of blue flame thread between shelves drifts of copper, vapors escaping broken crucible shards used as makeshift stilts. The process smells of warm dust and night jasmine caught. In a furnace draft. Kill Master Istarelani supervises temperature by color alone. He lowers visor of hammered bronze mesh across face, studies the glow. First tangerine, then apricot. Now peach time to hold. Bellows cadence slows. Clay metamorphoses from pliant silt into stone music. Each wedge stroke vitrifies, ensuring A line will survive rough cart journeys and palace collapses. Cool in chamber, quiet ascent of lullabies after 4 hours. The kill mouth is sealed with brick. Vents open at rear, drawing flame and fatigue outward. Inside, heat subsides gradually, exhaling sighs that weave through cedar rafters overhead. Master Istar does it reopen for half a sunrise. Patience is also a craftsman's tool when bricks finally pull away. A billow of ruddy mist emerges, curling around ankles before dissolving. The racks slide out, bearing tablets now rigid and resonant. Tap one lightly and it rings. Scribes sort them nominally. Decrees to cedar shelves, lullabies to velvet-lined caskets polished with beeswax. A nursemaid collects the cradle plaques, ties them in reed rope, and departs to nursery where 2 infants drowse under linen gauze. She will warm the tablets between palms, releasing mild clay scent known to pacify colic. Archival mathematics, Shupali Irina, updates the shelf catalog. 676 new tablets, 14 categories, 3 in duplicate. Thin cedar slats hang down like bookmarks, etched with inventory glyphs. Using antler stylus dipped in rare blue ink, he marks a single dot next to each entry, signifying fire witnessed. Fire witnessed inscriptions grant legal precedence. A decree unfired can be contested, but fired tablets stand as stone. The royal household's clay heartbeat now weighs precisely 2148, minus he uses counterweights and bronze scale to confirm. Such calculations matter. Shelf collapse would scatter epochs. Carpenters will add a 3rd support beam tomorrow. Ink. Over terracotta, the post-firing gloss certain documents, resist baking letters requesting haste from distant vassals, or notes comparing barley sprout dimensions. These remain raw, then receive red ink gloss on outer surfaces. Paduapa's chief diplomat perfumes ink with iris root, distinguishing diplomatic packets by scent alone. Messengers trained to sniff out forgeries. False tablets rarely carry iris undertone. 1 parchment letter arrives. Cyprus Copper Guild requests emblem renewal. Uppily reads, nods, drafts, clay reply promising inspection tour. The reply is baked by itself in small side kill. The act imparts weight of seriousness beyond wax seals. Moonrise in the tablet house. Evening oil lamps flicker across terracotta corridors. Shadows cast by tablet edges pattern walls with abstract constellations. A wedge here resembles scorpion tail, a horizontal. Cluster mimics swallow flight. Apprentices halt before one shelf, noticing 3 wedge signs inadvertently align into profile of 2-staff scepter, the regnal emblem. They bow unconsciously. A night breeze snakes through clerestory vent, lifting scroll tags. Tags flip, settle, reminiscent of startled sparrows. Candle flame bends, highlighting wet grooves on a newly copied prayer to Inara, goddess of wild places and domestic calm. Ink glisten settles. The prayer ends with line, clay remembers more gently than bone. Uppily circles that sentence, with a faint ochre underline, an editorial indulgence dot closing the bronze doors, too immense. Doors sheathed in bronze and inlaid with garnet close the tablet's house at starrise. Each door requires 4 hands to move, gliding on cedar hinges lubricated with bare fat. As they meet, a soft gong emanates from unseen bronze tongues striking plates within, signaling to battlement watch that archive heart is sealed. Outside, the guardian lions flank entryway, basalt eyes reflecting torchlight with subdued certainty. The final ritual, Uppily presses fist to lintel, murmuring the archivist's night oath. Lines hold. Doors latch. Inside, fired clay releases residual heat which climbs, then dissipates into cedar roof. Worming nesting swallows. Echo of reed stylus, a single reed stylus left on scribe's board still carries wet ink. Moonlight catches its cut tip. illuminating microscopic fibers where sap dried earlier. If one leans ear close, a faint echo seems to issue phantom scratch of wedge into clay, echo of thousands of strokes now cooled into permanence. The stylus will dry, be trimmed again, tomorrow, and return to service. The echo will fade but not vanish, woven into silence like gold flecks in basalt paw.calm endures, etched in terracotta, archived behind bronze, scented with iris and cedar. Words that once rode the breath of queens and copper traders now rest. Minerals still, prepared to outlast walls, roofs, even the hiss of the kill that forged them. Long before a rooster crow, a gray band of sky hovers over the pine ridges north of Hattusa. That narrow band is neither full night nor finished dawn. It is iron hour, when embers buried beneath ash still radiate, but flames have yet to leap. Inhale 4 counts steady, hold 2. Release 6, imagining the exhalation bending the ashes just enough to reveal an orange thread beneath. Beneath this band of sky, a procession of carts creeps along goat tracks, wheels wrapped in rawhide, to silence their passage. The carts haul no ordinary ore. Hidden under straw and goat skins lie dark nodules, peppered with silver specks siderite from the Paphlagonian uplands, or that will birth a metal harder than bronze and quieter than rumors. The drivers speak little. They trust only the crunch of gravel and distant trill of cicadas to fill the hushed out secret forges of the northern gorgon, a ravine carpeted with moss and shaded by towering cedar. The Empire has repurposed an abandoned copper smelter. Bronze no longer requires secrecy, but iron still unpredictable and scarce demands cloister. Stone walls are lined with sheepskin quilts to muffle hammerfall. Vent stacks snake through natural fissures, emitting smoke high above treetops. Where it can be mistaken for wandering cloud, Chief Metallurgist Hattusili kneels beside a bloomery furnace scarcely taller than a full-grown ram. He removes a cedar plug, releasing a sigh of charcoal-scented heat. Inside the furnace, a spongy bloom of mixed iron and slag has begun to form, glowing not orange like bronze, but white-gray, tinged with violet at the edges, signature of temperatures few smiths dare pursue. Apprentices work twin bellows stitched from elk hide, pushing air in slow waves matched to an unseen metronome only the master can sense. Charcoal sparks swirl up the chimney. Each spark drifts into the half-light, vanishing before reaching. Canopy. The process is painstaking. Inflate, hold, release, repeat for 3 hours until molten nodules cohere. At last, Hattusili signals halt. Modified deer antler tongs extract the bloom, dropping it onto a basalt anvil that flattens the spongy mass with its own gravity. A hush deeper than ravine shadow follows moment before hammer's first kiss. Hammer, frontipi, and slacks. Lament the apprentices swap bellows for hammers with mushroom caps of willow. 4 blows, then rotate bloom quarter turn. 4 more. Rotate this clockwise dance, expel slag as sparkling tears. Sparks pepper the anvil's flank, sounding like distant rain on a hide roof. Each hammerfall compresses the bloom's irregular cavities, coaxing metal toward unity. When the core darkens from blinding white to peach, Hattusili chants numerals. Icky, U umlaut, K dirt. Final strike seeds the billet's future grain. The billet, now the size of a forearm, is reheated and folded onto itself like dough. Fold, strike, reheat, fold 8 cycles. Where bronze alloy relies on recipe, wrought iron relies on patience. Every fold is a line of invisible script etched into the metal's lattice, recording hours, heartbeats, and breaths exchanged between man and ore. Edge trails at the silent Trenche Riverstone. Trough filled with chilled spring water waits nearby. Hattusili quenches the refined bar, steam whispering up like distant prophecy. Once cooled, apprentices grind one edge against whetstone until it gleams. The test is simple. Carved cedar plank with single stroke. Bronze blades chew, leaving burrs. This iron sliver slices clean, releasing a ribbon of fragrant wood the shape of lyre string. A messenger records the results on a palm-sized clay token, cedar shaved, brill thickness, stroke angle. Token will travel to Padueba's engineering. Court. Data, not legend, will determine expansion of forges. Whispers across border markets news of this metal leaks not through soldiers, but through potters. In the market of Samuha, a trader displays arrowheads dull as river pebbles yet posted. As stone killer, a Casca hunter buys one, tested on boar hide, and notes penetration deeper than bronze cousin. Word reaches Assyrian caravaneers who scribble soft ink signs on flax parchment. Take caution, caddy stone, metal bites. Weeks later in Babylon, a court astrologer reads that very parchment under lamplight perfumed with nard. He raises brow but says nothing. Sometimes silence is the strongest border. Diplomatic camouflage back in Katuka. Hattusili III orders that only farming implements be traded southward. Iron sickles, plowshares. Blades for war will remain hidden until treaties hinge on them. Thus iron dawns under guise of agrarian blessing, plow cutting soil a fraction deeper, wheat stands growing a shade taller, while neighboring realms debate rumors, Padueba drafts, tariff bylaws limiting iron export weight per donkey. Ink smells faintly of iris root again, clay seal pressed. Bureaucracy becomes sheath for newfound edge. Shadow on the bronzy bronze still rules in Cyprus and Egypt. Yet, when Phoenician merchants unload tin in Ugrit harbor, their ledgers show surplus unsold. Ramesses' smiths notice bronze blades dull faster against Hittite shields recovered after border skirmish. And unease eddies across Mediterranean like cold current beneath warm sea surface. Bronze has a future, but iron casts the mooring shadow. Assyrian. Emissary Ashur-Nazir presents Hittite court with Labus bowl, hoping to barter forging secrets. He receives instead a bag of barley. Gift gentle, message firm. Hunger, not curiosity, must be fed. He bows, exits with unanswered questions echoing like hollow ambles. Temple hymn for the furnace spirit on Equinox Eve. Priest's journey to ravine. Forge. They carry drums of stretched wolfskin, bells of hammered copper. At twilight, they encircle furnace, tapping rhythms echoing first smelt cycle. Slow bellows, quick bellows, pause. A chant rises, iron child of fire be mild in our hands, fierce in our cause. The words drift upward into canopy. Bats wheel through smoke, their wingtips briefly catching red glow. Apprentices lower heads, feeling hair tingle. Static lines dance across arms. Furnace spirit, invisible yet palpable, seems to vibrate with approval. Ritual completes marriage. Of technology and omen practical metallurgy fused to mythic authority. Ledger of blades and scroll of plows by New Moon. Archived tablets list 46 iron blades, 18 axes, 11 plowshares. Companion scroll tallies barley yields and plots, served by iron soil breakers, yields up 9 parts in 100. Scribes draw star beside figure symbol marking noteworthy. Queen Podoetba signs dispatch to Alicia stating grain surplus. Allows reduced copper order next quarter. Copper merchants frown. Iron makers grin behind kill smoke. Night on the ridge. Dawn in the ore night settles over ravine. Kilns sealed, bent sigh ember scent mixed with pine resin. Cart drivers pile straw. Over ore sacks, ready at first gray to slip along goat paths again. Iron dawn perpetuates. Silent carts, hidden furnaces, whispering markets. Cautious treaties. Somewhere beyond Taurus range, a young smith reheats broken bronze sword and household hearth, wondering whether rumors of stone metal are true. Sparks dance in his eyes. Future ages already wedge themselves between blade and anvil. Metal cools, embers fade, canyon quiet remains, yet beneath cedar roots, veins of siderite dream of tomorrow's forge. A single beeswax candle trembles inside the royal archive of Hattusa. Its flame curls, steadies, then bows again, breathing in rhythm with a draft squeezing through cracked lintel stone. Inhale for 4 counts, as though drawing that faint. Wax honey scent toward the palate, hold briefly. Exhale for 6, letting shoulders ease to the same slow sway as the flame. The light is small, but it tries to hug walls lined with terracotta shelves now sparsely populated. Where once 30,000. Tablets stood, fewer than half remain. The rest have been carted south for safekeeping, or broken during the hasty packing dot outside. Pine branches rattle with a dryness not heard in generations. Rain has missed its appointed months. The grain fields of lower land rustle not with fullness, but with hollow heads. The Empire, unsettled by years of drought and shifting alliances, stands at the lip of an unsteady exhale. The bread ledger runs them scribe Uppily Arena, hair now streaked silver, balances on a cedar stool, hands hovering above the bread ledger. Tablet series updated since Labarna's first levy. Today's entry will record the lowest barley reserves in living memory. He presses stylus with reluctance, carving numbers smaller than any on the shelf. Each wedge feels like chisel on bone dot in the granary yard. Steward Shadawaza supervises the final rationing. He stands amid amphorae once brimming with grain, now filled half to shoulder. The amphorae's ceramic sides clink dully as workers tip them, measuring handfuls into reed baskets for distribution. Dust lifts, catching sun shafts to form golden columns that vanish before striking ground ephemeral illusions of plenty. Children near the granary gate clutch bowls carved from cedar scrap, waiting for porridge spoons measured by strict decree. 2 ladles for infants, 3 for grown field hands, 4 for soldier reserves. Some children chatter. Others simply watch dust motes, their expressions a blend of curiosity and restraint learned too young. Faction sparks in council. Hall within the fortress council hall, the air buzzes warmer than summer asphalt. Kuranta of Tarhuntasa, cousin to Totkalia IV, leans over the bronze map table, his knuckles whitening. He demands greater autonomy for southern provinces, arguing they can negotiate grain imports from Malaysia more swiftly without oversight. Opposite, King Totkalia meets the gaze, yet drums fingers on the map's copper depiction of the Halle's River, an unconscious rhythm replicating distant thunder. Queen Padoepa, now matriarchal pillar, listens. Her breath remains calm, but eyes miss little. The sweat beneath Karanta's collar, the tremor in a junior advisor's quill, the candle stub nearly burnt to wick and visual cues of impatience. She raises hand. Council falls silent. The Empire breathes through one throat, she says, voice gentle. If lungs divide, neither will fill. Yet beneath that metaphor lingers reality. Garrison captains hold private loyalty to provincial governors. Scribes leak troop counts to discontented. Nobles, carriers of iron blades cross frontiers, seeking better wages. Candles multiply. Oils diminish candle consumption, once ceremonial, becomes pragmatism as dusk arrives earlier in hearts. Torch oil shipments from Kitsuatna decrease. Beeswax caravans are taxed by banditry. Artisans learn to stretch wicks, braiding linen threads thinner, dipping fewer times. Flames burn cooler, shorter, casting longer shadows that flicker like tall ghosts, pacing corridor corners dot in the hall of looms. Weavers stitch linen burial shrouds for infants, claimed by flux fevers that hunt malnourished bones. They work by triple candle clusters perched on upturned amphora shards. Wax drips onto weighted warp threads, hardening like tiny pearls. The weavers scrape beads off, saving the wax for remelting, each crumb a commodity, the silent march of ashes and pottery. Shard on the northern border, the Casca raids resume, no longer probing, but prying. They carry torches soaked in pine resin and wrath. Watchtowers ignite like match heads. Not far behind them, a haze of ash drifts east, smudging sunrise, ghosting over Hattusa's limestone walls. A layer of gray dust coats line sculptures. Amber inlaid eyes stare through the shroud. Vision dimmed, but UNBINKING dot at village threshing floors. Pottery shards gradually replace straw. Farmers break amphorae for emergency roof tiles, leaving broken rims to rattle in the wind. Sound resembles distant applause for a play long finished. Dogs no longer bark at the racket. They too have learned economy of effort. Oracle's final ember deep in Istar's shrine. Priestess Cassiana spreads embers across a shallow tray, sets choice barley seeds atop the glow, counting how many burst into pale shoots before withering. Fewer than half germinate. She marks omen tablets. Seed heart weak, ear spine brittle. Traditionally, this augury would ride sealed pigeon to the king. Today, pigeons are stew and the omen travels by memory alone. Cassiana offers libation of pomegranate wine diluted with tears, uncustomary but not forbidden. The crimson trickle steams on embers, releasing bouquet of sweet vinegar and iron-laden. Grief. The smell slips under temple doors, weaving into corridor air like thread through loom warp dot bitter. Feast of the last iron blade in the ravine forge from earlier chapters. Iron bloomery fires crackle for perhaps final cycle. Siderite shipments ended 2 moons past. Bellows crack, leather splitting under dryness. Master Ashwali and 2 apprentices labor to finish a ceremonial sword promised for Tatchilia's coming-of-age festival. They quench blade in water so. Scarce that steam robs the forge of its last breath. The blade emerges flawless, a dark mirror. Yet as Ashwili presents it at the palace gate, he sees breadline curve past courtyard columns. Iron gleam feels gaudy amid hollow cheeks. Palace steward thanks him, stows blade in cedar chest that smells faintly of mouse droppings. It may never be drawn, the candle procession of regret one night. Paduapa orders all palace candles move to outer wall parapets, lighting the city horizon like lantern festival. Citizens gather, drawn by flicker. Musicians too weak for horn carry flutes of hollow reed. They play slow hymn, 3 notes rising, 2 falling torchlight music. Children watch wax tearlets drip onto stone, whispering that spilled wax resembles. Falling stars dot after midnight, wind from Halley's river gusts. Flames tilt, some extinguish, leaving islands of darkness between pools of gold. Pattern mirrors, star map, fractured by clouds. Constellations no longer connect. Onlookers absorb message. Without speech, they disperse quietly, candle nubs still glowing behind eyelids. Breath before the sigh morning dew condenses on burnt torches, hissing faintly as charcoal tries to drink water too late. In Council Hall, King Taptalia signs decree relocating. Archives to Carchemish. Upply Arena wraps tablets in reed mats, seals bundles with leftover wax. He walks corridor lined with extinguished candles, their wicks curled like black question marks dot as wagons roll south. Wheels groan, not with weight but with sorrow of leading stone lions to eventual solitude. Zuri the dog paces rampart, nose, lifting to wind heavy with cedar smoke from new northern fires. He winds once, then sits. Inside empty archive room, a single candle remains on pedestal overlooked or intentionally spared. Its flame flickers, brightens, then gutters as door closes. Wax pool solidifies, locking in ripple patterns like frozen breath. The empire still stands, but the final sigh lingers in doorway gaps, waiting for one decisive gust. At first light, the limestone scarp of Hattusili I looks like a sheet of parchment balanced against the horizon, its surface scribbled not by ink but by shadows. Each shadow marks a chisel cut hammered over 3 millennia ago, there the horn of a storm god, here the pleated robe of a green deity, lower down the feline paw of Zaruma frozen mid-stride. Stand at the base of the sanctuary and whisper. The sound crawls up the cliff like ivy, then glides back richer, as though the stones themselves finish half-spoken words. Breathe in to a count of 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, allowing imagined limestone dust to settle behind the sternum. Hold for 2. Exhale over 6, letting the chest widen like the open-air gallery before you. The Empire has long since emptied its granaries, but its pantheon still holds audience here. Sculpted procession perpetually rounding its final bend. Processional. Corridor gods in single file, a narrow corridor no wider than 2 outstretched arms, guides modern visitors toward Chamber A. On the left wall advance the male deities, storm gods, moon riders, river guardians, each stepping with identical forward motion as if obeying a drum lost to time. Opposite march their female counterparts, sun goddesses of arena, grain mothers with sheaves carved beneath fingertips, lion riders cloaked in feathered mantles. The symmetry is so precise that one might believe the sculptors measured eternity. With a cedar yardstick dot, yet observe closely, some faces bear faint gouges. Scholars debate whether these were vandalism or ancient restoration attempts. Either way, erosion has softened the strict lines into something almost human storm. God cheeks now resemble cheeks of elders. Green goddess brows furrow like farmers, weighing harvest chances. Visitors often speak unexpectedly softly here, as though loath to disturb the stilled parade. Acoustic measurements reveal why. The corridor narrows sound waves, focusing them upward where limestone ridges scatter echoes back along walls, modulated by each carved torso. Every word returns wearing a costume of reverberation, deeper and slower. Chamber A. The calendar of shadows step past a shallow threshold into Chamber a courtyard roofless yet enclosed enough to feel intimate. At its eastern end stands the relief known as the Embraced Storm God. Tarkana and the sun god Das of the earth clasp hands beneath a 3-tiered mountain glyph. Archaeologists propose this scene encodes New Year rites. Astronomers note that the rising sun at equinox threads perfectly between the deities' linked elbows, casting a blade-thin beam onto the opposite wall. On equinox morning, that beam illuminates a smaller relief depicting a pair of mythical gatekeepers. Their outlines blaze for exactly 4 minutes before fading, like a film reel spliced into stone. Priests once interpreted that flash as the gods opening a door for abundance-provided grain. Storerooms were full and border beacons unlit. Today, the storerooms stand empty, border fires long extinguished, but the beam still arrives on schedule, indifferent to human footnotes. During recent solstice, a group of acousticians brought tuning forks to Chamber A. They struck a 220 and found the courtyard returned an E330 overtone, as if the stone wished to modulate earthly pitch into celestial chord. The report now sits in Ankara's museum archive. Its abstract concludes, Yatsali Kaya stones behave as resonant cavities tuned by human intervention, implying intentional sonic design. Chamber B, hidden pantheon and the sword of no return list visited is Chamber B, accessible through a narrow crack that forces backpacks sideways. Inside, humidity rises and floor sweats calcite. Here stand the 12 underworld gods, each barely taller than a belt buckle, yet exuding weight heavier than quarried blocks. They wear high boots and clench weapons shaped like lightning shards. Their orderly stance suggests readiness to march beneath soil. Policing roots and bones. At the chamber's deepest niche lies the famed sacred Sorda, relief of a hill-driven blade, first into stylized mountain. Some call it the first depiction of Excalibur's motif, a weapon nobody should draw unless Cosmos requires. Ironically, the real empire fell not to blade but to drought. Trade collapsed and shifting alliances, yet the sword remains waiting, its promise unclaimed, its warning unheeded. Later Hellenistic graffiti appear near the sword, faint letters in Greek reading. Kairos Pontikairon, there is a critical moment for everything. The sentiment, carved centuries after the Hittite fall, underlines timelessness. Sanctuaries outlive sovereigns. Stones reuse languages like garments passed among generations. Descent into modern. Dust jump forward to 1834. French explorer Charles Texier stumbles upon Hattusili I while mapping Tyria from Herodotus's notes. His journal marvels at the grand almanac of a bygone realm, etched forever in mountain flank. He sketches what he calls curious soldiers and priestesses, sending drawings to Paris where they ignite scholarly debate on Asian empires predating Assyria. Fast forward to 1945. Turkish archaeologist Tahsin Zguk leads a team to re-photograph the sanctuary under raking winter light. They dust relief lines with soft chalk to photograph contrasts. The chalk, disturbed by breeze, drifts onto their boots, painting solace white so each step marks gesso footprints over stone. A docent jokes, even our shoes pay homage. Now to the present, drone cameras hover, collecting LiDAR matrices, mapping micron-scale erosion. Data feed into algorithms forecasting relief loss over next century. Projection, 7% depth reduction by 2125 if unshielded. Proposed remedy, transparent canopy filtering acid rain and desert dust. Funding pending, resurrected gods in digital. Skin across global servers, digital artists rebuild Hattusili I's ditties in photogrammetry, texturing them with real spectral data from copper traces still haunting limestone pores. Virtual visitors navigate via headset, triggering audio overlays, Assyrian reed flute mixed with modern cello, bridging epics. The Underworld 12, once knee-high, loom at eye level. The sacred sword pulses faint red, interactive pointer, indicating mythic hotspots. Young programmers nickname Storm God Tarkana. Thunder Dad. Share 3D printable miniatures and embed QR codes linking to climate change campaigns, referencing ancient drought lessons. Gods resurrect, yes, but wear new garments. Hashtags, NFTs, open source licenses. Coda. The Empire's dream continues, standing again before actual limestone. Dusk approaching, one hears modern wind bred through corridor. It strikes carved. Skirts producing flute-like sighs. Swift start overhead, tracing invisible sigils older than any script. A tour guide pockets voice amplifier, choosing to whisper final lines. Empire's end. Stories don't. Rock holds breath. Near the entrance, a child from Ankara drops a glass marble. It rolls, tapping each relief base tick, tick before halting at the feet of the grain mother. Sunlight catches the sphere, projecting rainbow onto stone. For a heartbeat, barley sheaf shimmers as though regilded. Behind you, final candle, carried by a late researcher, flickers. The flame, small but unyielding, bows in the same rhythm as the archived candle back in Katuka's royal vault reminder that light can dwindle. Yet its echo, cast in stone and data, will keep morning watch.